Okay, sounds good. So we can't see your faces, but you should be able to unmute yourself. So after each section, I'll pause for questions. You can also type them into the chat, and then we'll get to those ones at the end. But we're going to start by covering some of the most common questions that we got. We got a bunch of questions, so we're trying to kind of organize it based on the most popular questions. But like I said, I will pause after each section for additional questions on that topic. So hopefully we'll get to everyone's questions, and then we'll also be sending out additional resources after the webinar ends, including our first webinar we did. So a lot of the questions we got were on programming. Our first webinar covered programming in depth. We are going to spend time covering programming today, but then we'll also send the follow-up with the first webinar that goes into programming in depth. So with that being said, we're going to get started. The first topic we're going to cover is going to be programming. So we got a couple questions about templates and how to customize template programs and build off of them. So I'm going to start by going into the program library. So when you have all programs selected, you'll see all of your programs, both yours and the template programs. So I'm going to filter it by just tapping on Exos, and that'll bring me to the Exos template programs. So from here, you can kind of select whichever one sounds the most appropriate for what you're looking for. So I'm going to start with just an intermediate advanced equipment program. So once you click it, it will make a clone of the program. So now you can edit it. So from here, you can change the name. So if we want it to be program 329, so you can make all the changes to it once you click it. It's just like it's your own program. But we're going to go into one of the phases and start playing around with it. So within the phase, like within the phase of a program, you can click and delete days. You can clone it, you can switch it, you can make edits to it. So it's super flexible. Once you clone it, it's your program to edit and play around with. So if there's certain blocks that you don't like, you can always delete it and it'll get rid of it there. And then within this, you can add your own blocks. So you can customize it. So let's say I want to add a block. And then you would go about this way and create your own or add your own exercises. Do squats. So let's say there was an exercise that you wanted to add that there wasn't already in the library. You can click create new exercise. So if I wanted to do like goblet squat with mini band, whatever, and it didn't exist, then you could hit create new exercise and it would create that new exercise. You would click insert, and then from there you could tap it and play with the parameters. So then within the parameters, if you're not familiar, you'd be able to select reps, weight, and play around with the different options here. And then you would select the different weight options within weight. So we have percent difficulty, absolute, percent body weight, all of these different options. And then I don't want to spend a ton of time here because we did go in depth in this in the first one, but just kind of to give you an overview of what it looks like when you're in this window, you can hit apply to all and then click out of it and it would be here. So that's kind of an idea of creating a block within a template. And then let's say you want to save this block as a template and apply it to other programs. You would tap the three dots up here and click save as template. And then the next time you want to add that block in, you would click template block. It would be under my templates and should show up there, but I don't know why it's not. Let me try again. Save as template, 329. It might be a duplicate name. Okay, usually it's, oh, there it is, insert. So the three dots that you see are usually very useful to hit, and they come with a lot of different options here. So another question we got was about adding nutrition information into your programming. We don't have an integration with MyFitnessPal, but we do have the option to add media into your blocks. So what a lot of coaches will do is add a block specific to their nutrition. So let's say like on day 3, you wanted your clients to have access to some PDF that you made or an image or something that had, it could be like supplement information that you want them to take that day or their meal plan for that day. So for that, I would add a block. Let's call it meals, meal 3, if you wanted to add like a picture of a meal that they would have for that meal. And then you would tap the 3 dots and add media. You can also import from YouTube if there was like a recipe video you want them to follow along with or anything like that. But in this case, I'm going to add a photo, and then they would see that there on their app as well. So you could also add notes here, like 4 ounces of chicken, 6-ounce sweet potato, and green beans. So that's a good way to just add in nutritional information like within your programming. But I'll pause there for a second. I know I just went through that pretty quickly. Does anyone have questions on the builder and building a program? You can unmute yourselves if you do, I think.
Hi, Ron. I see that you raised your hand, or if you're able to unmute yourself, you can ask the question. Otherwise, you can put it in our question box, and we can get it answered.
I wonder if we have to unmute them.
I can.
Do you want to try that? Because it
Okay,
says it.
Ron, I'm going to try unmuting you so you can ask us your question. If it doesn't work, I'll mute you again, so no worries. Okay, Ron, are you able to ask the question?
Oh, okay. I think it works now.
Okay,
Can
great.
you hear me? All
Yes,
right,
I can.
perfect. So I just had a question about when you're building programs, like if you're doing, like you want to do work for 40 seconds and then rest for 20 seconds. I know there's the timer on there, but the client will have to actually manually hit to do that timer. Is there a way to create something where it'll actually run the whole program for you without them having to start the timer?
Okay, so you're saying like a preset timer where they could just click like start and it would be like 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off kind of thing?
Exactly, and then it'll just go right to the next exercise for them.
Okay.
Say
I
like
don't.
if in one block I had 4 different exercises and I wanted them to do, in that block, do first exercise 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, the next exercise, whatever
Right.
time frame, and run it for however many exercises are in that block.
I don't think so. I would double, Lauren, is there like
No,
a,
we don't have kind of like a just running clock. So yeah, they will have to click to do the timer. So when you have time prescribed, our timer will at least pull in that preset time, but we don't currently have a way to kind of do, this like running timer in the background. So yeah, kind of how Emily's setting it up is, I think, what we probably have as the best option right now, unless you choose to use one of our other like time-based blocks. Are you typically doing it in like a block like this, or are you using like any of the other blocks like AMRAP, Brown for Times, or anything like that?
Oh, I didn't know there was an AMRAP block.
Yeah, so we have 3 different time-based blocks. So yeah, Emily,
Oh,
maybe if
okay.
you want to show those 3.
yeah. So if you go to new block, you'll see like the different options, new block and superset block. That might be what you have been using because that's kind of like the default. But then if you go down here, you'll see the different options. So you have AMRAP, EMOM, and RFT. So your rounds for time, every minute on the minute, or as many rounds as possible.
Okay.
So then when you click on that, it will have like the time. So you could do 10 minutes and then select your exercises for that. Is
Okay.
that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, and then will it automatically keep the time for you then while it's doing that?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think it will
Okay.
add in like the rest, per se. But it will pull in that, like, it will start it for the 10 minutes and then that will run through.
Okay, perfect. No, that's great. And I'm sorry, can you just one more time where you when you hit
Yep.
new block?
Yeah, so you'll hit add block, new block,
Uh-huh.
and you have the different options here.
Okay,
And you can
perfect.
to see what they are as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'll play with those later today then.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
Ron.
you.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you again. Oh, you already did it. Great. Okay.
And then it looks like David, you had a question as well, so we can unmute
Okay.
you.
Let me unmute David. Oh, it looks like you were able to do it. Okay, go ahead, David.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can hear you.
The question and if you can tell me if this is on the other seminar or webinar, then I can go back and try and watch it. But it seems like when I've updated programs, it's created duplicate unassigned programs. So now I wind up with like 7 or 8 of virtually the same program under my library. Is there a way to clean those up and either just kind of delete them out of there? And then also, I've created a program and put it in my store. However, if I went to just assign that to somebody who's already in my system, do I need to create a duplicate for that to add that person? Because it doesn't pop up when I say like go to athlete, assign program to athlete. Anything that's just in my store won't populate for me to assign it to them. It seems like I have to create a duplicate. Is that correct?
So if you have a program that's assigned to multiple athletes and you click on the program to make individual changes to the athlete, it
Hmm.
will make their own copy. So if you have because if you want to make edits for the whole team, you can do that. But when it starts to be individualized, it will clone the program.
Okay.
And then same with the online store, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when someone purchases it, it automatically makes them their own copy of it.
Yeah, so for the online store piece of your question, when you add a program to the store, our system will mark it as like online store. So you should see like kind of like a blue icon next to it. And
Yep,
then
correct.
we don't allow that specific program to be assigned to clients in your system because it could then be moved as a completed program by accident, if you do unassign it from someone. So if you want to assign it to someone that's already in the system, you will have to clone that program and assign the cloned version.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
I think a
And
good
then did we address the first part of having the duplicates? Is it like unassigned duplicates, or could you give us a little bit more info on that?
Yeah, it's unassigned duplicates. Like, let's say, for example, I went through and made some changes to a program back in December of 2022. So now I have like, if I go to my library and go under programs, I have 7 of the same unassigned, updated Taskful Athlete program or whatever it is, for example, if that makes sense.
So are you going in and first cloning the program before making the edits, or you're just going in and making edits to the program and it seems to be duplicating it?
The second it seems to be duplicating it after I'm
Okay, so
editing.
that it shouldn't be the intended like action. If you're editing a program, it should just be editing that one without making any duplicates. So we can follow up with you after to get some more info and look into that, to try and get that resolved for you.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Does anyone else have any questions on the programming side of things? And like I said, we will be sending out the first webinar, which goes through, I mean, it's like 30 minutes of just going through building a program from scratch. So that should be super useful if you do have questions about like programming in general. But if not, I'm going to move on to,
We got one more that might be good to show while you're in here. So they asked, can I keep a client's weight history after assigning a new program? So yes, the athlete's history stays attached to the profile rather than the program. So even if you're building a new program, you can look back and see the athlete's history for that exercise. So Emily, it might be good if you click on like squat or any of the exercises, you can show, when you click on exercise, we do have an athlete history button. And you can pull up a specific athlete or group of athletes and view all of their history within the builder.
That's history.
I guess none of them, these
They
are all
do.
new athletes in our system, but it would just populate there. So it's really easy to kind of reference back when you're building their past history. But in short, yeah, history stays on the client level. So it will always be associated with the exercise rather than on the program level.
Good question. And that's up here in athlete history. And hopefully your
Yeah.
athletes have history, unlike.
Oh yeah, that's a team that I think we don't test with too much.
Okay.
Okay, great. But yeah, thanks for sending in this question. And yeah, please feel free to keep asking questions in our chat box and we'll get to them as we go through. Okay, so we got one more about building, so maybe we should stay here real quick.
Yeah.
So in a new program, if I'm using percent difficulty, will Bridge remember those percentages they used before? So the answer for that one is also yes. So it's similar to exercise history. It stays on the exercise and athlete level and isn't on the program level. So if the athlete has done that exercise before using percent difficulty in like program 1, it will remember it for that same exercise in program 2. Okay, maybe we can show the estimate weight while we're in here. So if you go into another, yeah, maybe Romanian deadlift, and then, oh, I guess we can't do it because we don't have a team assigned to an athlete. If you have a program assigned, in that same pop-up up here, there's another box often next to athlete history, and it will show estimate weight. So if you're, oh, it's because we don't have percent difficulty. That's why we need, if you do it with one that has percent difficulty as the weight prescription. There's a toggle that's estimate weight, and it will show you what the weight will be for that athlete using percent difficulty. So you can quickly see.
Maybe this works. Estimate weight. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I think
go to like remote training. That usually has some good data in it. Remote training 2022.
Oh.
Or 2023. Oh, there it is. You might want to search for it. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, everyone. Okay, hopefully one of these people. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So here's a great example of how it carries over, and you can quickly see what the athlete will be prescribed within their workout. So you can make any adjustments as needed when you're building. So Emily just clicked on the exercise. It had to have weight prescribed with percent difficulty, and then the estimate weight option appeared.
Right over here. Beautiful.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great questions.
Great questions. Okay, I'm going to move on to going over the calendar view for athletes. We got a question about that. So to view the calendar view, we would first go to the team, and then within the roster, you can click on the athlete that you want to view, and then it's going to bring up their calendar. So it looks different if you go from like the members module. So I don't know if like if you click through there, it won't populate to this screen, but if you go through the team, it will. So within the calendar here, you can view their different workouts that your athlete's done. And then the drop-down menu will show the different programs that they're assigned. So if it's green, it's an active program. And then you can also go through and see their past programming as well. If you had concerns about like a certain weight or something that they did or what kind of programs they were doing in the past, you can always visit like their previous programming. But this one, the 12-week strength training, is a remote program. I mean, a playlist program. And then the Exos Follow Along Yoga is going to be a calendar program. So the calendar programs are going to show up with like their schedule here. So you can click on a day that they completed. You can edit the workout, copy it, delete it. So you can make these changes on your athlete's program, and this will bring you to the builder. Oh no. All right, I lost Amy. And then the other option would be to view their playlist program. So when they complete their playlist programs, it will just kind of show up on the day that they completed it. But playlist doesn't have like a set schedule. So you can go in and view their workout. This one's better because she actually has some data in here. So this would be a way to view what your athlete did. So let's say they trained yesterday and you want to just go back and visit what they actually put in for their workout. As you can see here, she put in some information for her bench press, so it shows up in green. So this is a quick way to go back and see what your athlete did if you want to visit a specific athlete's page. And then you also have the option to use the tracked and required sets. So I should have shown this when I was in the builder, but when you're editing like your workout for your athlete, you can make an exercise required. So then that will actually just show up in the activity report. So I'll just go back and show that. Let me go to my squat. Okay, so let's say you want an exercise to be required. That would be under the parameters here. Instead of a work set, you would click tracked or required. This way, when you're on your screen, it'll show up in the activity report, so you don't actually have to click into the specific athlete to see what weight they did. It'll just kind of populate everyone's weight. So if there's a specific exercise like a back squat or a movement that you want to see populate on your home screen for what all of your athletes are doing, you would do that by clicking tracked or required. Tracked will kind of just keep it in the background for you to see, and then the required sets will show up as your athlete as a set that they have to complete and put information in for. So if you have athletes who just kind of go through the motions and click through their workout and they don't enter weights, but for a specific exercise like a back squat where the weight is important for your information, that's a good time to click required, and that way they'll see that they have to enter the weight for it. So if you're not aware of these two options, these are really useful. And then again, it'll populate it on your activity report. So I'm back on my training team, and this way you'll see all of the tracked or required sets will just populate in one place, which again, super useful. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, we got some questions about the athlete profile page. If you want to go back to like Amy's profile. Okay, so, and then maybe toggle to the calendar program. So the question is, if they skip or miss a training on the calendar program, what happens? Can we move it around, or does it automatically get moved to the next day? So unfortunately, this is kind of a tough example that we have because they have 7 days. So Emily, could you maybe delete one workout off that? Like click on it and delete it. So now we have a freed up day.
Okay.
So if they missed Tuesday, for example, Emily can drag that workout. I think she might have to like click edit first, but it is editable where you can drag workouts around. So if you still need them to do it on a different day. And then within the mobile app, the athletes have a bit of flexibility as well. If you don't have like 7 days prescribed, for example, if you do like every other day, and I have no workout today, but I missed my workout yesterday, and I try starting yesterday's workout today, the app will ask if I'd like to move it to today's, so it updates my schedule correctly. But they can also always click back on days they've missed and complete the training, so it isn't completely missed, but our system does not automatically move it to the next day. So you can manually do it. The athlete has minimal flexibility to moving it to the next day. So things can be adjusted there. Okay, we have a couple of other questions as well.
Okay.
Okay, so when coaching multiple clients at once, how can we view multiple client programs at the same time on an iPad or laptop. So for started workouts, there isn't a way on personal trainer packages to have them all on the same screen at once. But on the iPad, you can start multiple workouts at once, and then using our like left menu, toggle between the started workouts. So that is the best workflow for multiple clients in the weight room. In terms of kind of reviewing training, we can't also view those at the same time. So you'll have to go into each profile since the programs all live on the same, on like each athlete's profile. But if you kind of at a glance want to just check on attendance, that can be done from the team page because we just start filling in like the attendance bar. And if they have multiple programs assigned, they can be toggled between as well. But in terms of management within the weight room, the best option is going into weight room mode and toggling between the programs.
And I would say that's where the tracked and required can come in handy as well. So if there are certain exercises that you want to just kind of see at a glance, you can do that all in the team homepage, which can be helpful.
Okay, so to follow up on this question, so to start the workouts in the weight room mode on tablet, you can do that on the tablet yourself as a coach. So you'll click into weight room mode on tablet, choose an athlete, start the workout, and you can repeat that for however many athletes are in the weight room with you. If the athlete starts it on their phone, it will sync on the iPad and you can see what started and kind of follow along. It doesn't instantly sync always if they're like checking off sets. It won't like necessarily show that on the iPad. So it is kind of best to start stuff on the iPad and guide them through it. But you can definitely follow along if they're kind of more completing it on their phone and you just need to track progress using the iPad. Okay, great. So hopefully that answered it. We do have some exciting iPad updates that we're continuing to push and work on. So maybe we'll do a webinar coming up soon that will focus a little bit more on like the tablet and apps, since there have been some more questions generated around that lately. Okay, so we do have one more question that's in here. Will this end up showing them lifetime total load and volume? So I believe this is back in reference to the activity report. So if you can click in there, we don't show lifetime within here, but any of these sets can be saved as test results. So then we kind of show more of like the lifetime trends as long as the data has been recorded within Bridge. And same with using our different reports in analytics. So you can do a prescribed versus actual report, and that will show their increase for that exercise over their like lifetime within Bridge. And then like same for test results, it works pretty similarly. If you want to go to a test result, we could show that. So down in the leaderboards and test results module below the activity report. And then toggle to test results tab.
Up here.
Oh, well, they don't have any data in here, so this probably isn't the best of examples.
But if they did all show up here in the analytics with the min, mean, and max there.
Yeah, and that would be lifetime. So that would track anything that they have in the system. And you can, yeah, as Emily just showed, change the.
Got some annual data.
Yeah. So this is just on the team level, but then on the homepage, you all can also create a little bit more in-depth reports in our analytics module. So this one's often skipped over, but you can create a test results report right there as well. And then I know a lot of people have been enjoying our prescribed versus actual report because it's a really great way to demonstrate kind of what you've prescribed versus what the athlete's actually been able to complete, and use that as a way to kind of adjust programming moving forward. So maybe a little bit more detail than you were looking for, but hopefully that answered the question. Okay, and then we do have another, is there a way to access information and data for inactive clients? So no, once a client is deactivated, our system does not show you their information, but Emily, if you could maybe go to the members module, and then anyone that you deactivate will always be stored here, so they can be reactivated, and then their data will be, like their exercise data will be available for you to look at. So if there's someone that you need to like quickly reference, but you're not training in Bridge anymore, you can always go back there, take a peek at the data, deactivate them again if needed. So you always do have that flexibility in terms of athlete management. Okay, great.
It looks like Michael had his hand raised. So I'm going to unmute you, Michael, if you still have a question. You're unmuted now if you have a question. I think.
Yeah, it looks like should be working.
Okay, maybe he doesn't have a question anymore.
Michael, you can also type it into the chat and we can get it answered if you're having some issues with the mic. I know sometimes GoToWebinar can be a bit tricky there.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, just one follow-up question that is a really great question that I wanted to make sure everybody heard as well. In terms of reactivating users, there isn't any notification on the athlete side that they're reactivated. So you can go in and look and then deactivate them again, and they don't get any alert. The only notifications athletes get are when you invite them. That's kind of their like signal that they're activated. But once they've already accepted their invite, there isn't any notification once you reactivate them and then choose to deactivate them again if that's the case.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Am I good to move on to the online store?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yeah, if anybody does have questions, please put them in the chat for now, and we will make sure to get them answered.
Okay. So a couple other questions that we got were on the online store. So kind of just starting from the beginning, from your homepage, you'll see payments in store at the top right, and that's where you would click to get started on your online store. So there's a few different tabs here. We're going to start with just my products to kind of show you how to just create a product and start selling on your online store. So you would start by clicking create new product. You'd give it a name, strength program, 329. Create the product, and then this would kind of bring you to the little home page for that specific product. So from here you can add an image, which we definitely recommend because it does kind of add something that draws people to it. We have our own library, and you can also add your own customized images. And then you would select the program that you want to associate with the product page. So you would select the program. We'll do the one we were just working on, confirm. And then depending on your subscription, you'll either have the option to just sell programs for free, or you can upgrade to be able to sell programs for money. So we have one-time payments, we have recurring payments, or you can sell a product for free. A free product is a great way to give people like a taste of what you're doing. If you want to just kind of put like a sample program out there, that is a really good option. And then you have the option for a one-time payment if you want to just kind of sell your program. You can make like a 3-month program, sell it for X amount of dollars, or have like a monthly recurring fee. So I'm going to do a one-time payment. We'll make it $100. You can add a description if you want, and then confirm. So this is a price that your subscribers will see when they go to your product page. And then once they purchase a program, it will automatically put them on a team. So you'd have to select a team that you want it to go to. I recommend making like a separate team, like remote training, so that if you are training people in person and online, it will kind of like differentiate them. And then also note that they will take up a client seat. So if you have 25 seats on your roster, anyone who's purchasing programs online, they will take up one of those seats. You can also upload a waiver if you want people to sign something before beginning. And then there's also the automatic deactivation. So this works for one-time payments only. So what we have here, and that would be something where the program deactivates. So if I don't want someone to have like unlimited access to a program that I wrote, then you can set it to deactivate X amount of weeks after it ends. That way they're not purchasing a program for life. You'd also just have to input your email address here so that you would be notified of successful purchases. And then you can kind of preview it. I'm going to show you all an example of one that we have. This one. Okay, so this is like a completed program in the store. So you can see here under the details, you can do different things like making it bold, you can add charts, different things to kind of capture the audience's attention and really tell them what the program is about. And then they would be able to purchase it by clicking buy now. So that's a little brief overview of the online store. And then you can manage your subscriptions here, as well as your payments history and your member management. Does anyone have any questions on the online store?
So we got one question. You did touch on it, Emily, but just to reiterate, yeah, any user that comes through the online store, regardless of if it's a free product or you are collecting a payment, does count towards your athlete seats within the system. So with free products, it works the same way as a product that you're collecting a payment for. The user won't get like a PDF or like a downloaded version of the program. They'll get added to your Bridge account and assigned the program as if we like manually assigned it. So the workflow is essentially the same, and that is why they also take up an athlete seat. So that's why this has come up a lot with like client management with the online store. So the members management dashboard is a really great tool for this because at a glance you can kind of see the like state of someone's subscription. If they don't have a subscription but they have a program, for example, you can kind of figure out like maybe why is that? Are they a client you're training in person so you're not managing a payment through Bridge? Because this will pull in everybody in your Bridge account, not just users that came through the online store. So it can be powerful regardless of if you're using the store or not. But if Emily, if you select some athletes on the left using those boxes, she's then able to perform some bulk actions. So she can bulk deactivate or bulk complete programs. So if you're waiting on like a payment for some clients and you want to remove their program until they like pay again, for example, you can do that in bulk there. Or if you're like ready to progress a group of athletes to their next program, you could bulk complete and then go and mass assign a group program to them from the library. So a lot of different options in here, but a really good tool to use to kind of manage access. Any other questions around the online store? Okay, it looks like we got one question in here. So this one's about tablet. Well, on a tablet in weight room mode, can athletes use a timer feature? I actually don't believe our timer pulls through on the tablet when a coach is logged in weight room mode, but we will double check and get back to you on this answer. But I think since it's in this mode, I don't think our timer syncs, but it might be different for like the time-based blocks. So we can double check and get that answered for you.
Does anyone have any questions on anything else, like in general? And like we said, we will be sending some follow-up resources, including the first webinar, as well as some other articles that'll be useful based on some questions that we got. We'll just give it a couple more minutes to see if anyone has any last minute questions before we wrap up.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah, I don't see anything in here yet. While we're in here, Emily, maybe you could highlight, yeah, the store too.
Okay, so this would be like the whole storefront where you can display all of your programs. So again, you can add customized images, a logo, and then it's definitely powerful to have just like a quick description on each program, because if you have a lot of programs, while someone's scrolling through, they're going to want to be able to choose the one that's best for them. I guess knee rehab is pretty self-explanatory, but for other ones, they'll have a little blurb, and then the user could actually click into it, read through it, and then subscribe to it if they wanted to.
Yeah, so the store kind of can double as a website if you don't have one, because you can feature all your programs there. But there are also ways to link like the specific product pages to your website if you have one up and running as well. So we've seen a lot of trainers do that and have good success with being able to promote their programs in different ways. Okay, so we did get a couple of questions. Is there a way to prescribe a range of reps for specific exercises? For example, I want a client to shoot for 6 to 8 reps for a pull-up rather than a set amount of reps like 8. So the good news is we are working on adding some parameters this year. It is quite a big project for us though, so we don't have a timeline for when these will be out. But in the meantime, the best way to do this is on the exercise level. So Emily, if we could maybe navigate back into the library, we can show you how we have seen this done.
So you could utilize the note section here and say like 10 to 12 reps per side. And then your athlete will see that on the app. They'll be able to see whatever notes you added. So if you do have a rep range, that's kind of the best way to add it in for them to see. But we are working on that update.
And if you do put in this rep range, you could either have the 10 prescribed, or you can leave that prescription blank and they can just fill it in to whatever they did within that range. Okay, great question. And then let's see if we have others around prescriptions. Will there ever be the ability to select 4 parameters instead of 3? Right now, it's still just 3, and I don't think we have the flexibility yet to do 4, but as we're working on parameters, this is feedback we will pass along. How come alternative regression progressions don't show up in the preview on the app? So progressions will only, or alternative exercises only show up once the exercise is started, just since otherwise it's just giving them kind of the overview. So we're not giving them the option to kind of click into exercises yet either on the preview. So it is just available once they're in the workout and going through it, mainly kind of just because of space as well in terms of like workflow. They need to get started, and we can't switch it until the workout is started either, because it's more of kind of a workout on the fly. So it's making that adjustment just for that individual workout that is started in live. So it must first be started on the athlete's end. Okay, we're getting a good roll in here. When people use bands, is there a way for them to indicate the color of band used for each set of an exercise? So that one's a bit tough because we don't have set level notes. So if you did want it to be different for each set, it may be best to kind of break out the exercise into multiple. Let me try and take a look, because I think when you leave a note, it is just on that exercise level. So yeah, that would kind of be my recommendation. If you need a note for each set, is to maybe like repeat the exercise multiple times within the workout for each color. Emily, do you have any other ideas there?
I don't think so. Maybe, yeah, I guess just specifying in the notes.
Yeah. Or you could have kind of the athletes write in, like, instead of reps, if you put reps as empty, and in the note you write like a 1 is a light band, a 2 is like medium, 3 is heavy, and have them fill it in that way, kind of as a workaround, just so you have that information. It will definitely track it differently, but being able to have a better way to kind of track bands used is a part of the work we're doing for parameters. So hopefully we'll have an easier way for this in the future.
Maybe also creating like custom exercises, like pull up with heavy band, and then you can add it as an alternative. Would that be a good workaround? Because then they can just kind of out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool.
Okay, we have a couple more. Okay. In the future, is it possible to apply all to only one of the parameters, i.e. reps and not percent difficulty? Oh, great question. So we don't have this currently being worked on, but again, this is great feedback we can pass along. It definitely, yeah, I could definitely see how that could cause some problems when building. I guess you'd have to maybe just have one parameter selected and apply all, and then add the next for right now. Yeah, that's kind of the only way I can see it, but that's really great feedback. So thank you for passing that along. I can see how that could cause some issues. Okay. If we need to change the parameter of an exercise and have that change made across the entire phase, what is the easiest way to do that? So we did have an update for doing this, I believe. Okay, how did we do this? So if you go on to the switch exercise, so if you click switch and then select the same exercise, you can change the parameters, and then you should be able to apply it across, I believe, is the workflow that we had set up.
Oh. Okay, so you could apply this.
So then you would click here and you could uncheck that box, and then you can make the adjustments to the prescriptions or the parameters, and then click apply, and the exercise will stay the same, but you will be able to update the parameters across. So maybe back up and show that again, since we kind of were working through it.
So we're clicking the exercise and then switch exercise and then typing in the same one. And then you can also use this feature to actually switch the exercise, but this is just a workaround to be able to change the parameter across the board. And then unchecking use same prescriptions, and then you can change the parameters and then save it, and it will apply to all days of the phase. You can also change it across the program, the week, or the day. And then that should That's a good question.
Okay, and then what's the quickest way to get answers if questions can't be found online? So the quickest way is to message our support team. We do try to get back to people as quickly as we can. We are a small team and do get a lot of questions, so it can be a bit of a delay. We are trying to put out more and more resources so people can find the information on their own and don't have to wait for us. But we know not everything is out there, so we are sorry for any delays that do happen, as we do try to get to stuff as quickly as we can. But the best way is to reach out to our team if you can't find an answer through the support chat or by emailing our support team at support@bridgeathletic.com. Okay, great. And we also are going to continue to do these webinars. So hopefully we continue to have really great questions like we did today. I think it's a great place for us to kind of learn from one another as well. And like you all brought up questions and things that we may have not always have thought of. So it's great for us to get this feedback and think of workflows that you all are doing as well. So it is a place of learning for us all, which is really great. So we'll continue to try and do a cadence of more of like a getting started webinar, more towards the beginning of the month, and then we'll follow it up with more of a Q&A webinar, and kind of based on the questions that come in, it will shape our focus. So if we start getting more questions around the tablet, for example, we can focus more on that instead of being kind of in the web platform. So we will really lend to how you all are looking. And then we do have one last question in here that is a great one to kind of wrap up. So how can we replay the past webinars? We will send out a link, and we'll be uploading them to YouTube as well. So you all will be able to reference kind of like the webinar playlist in YouTube. So you can go back and see previous ones, but we've only done one other one so far in March. So in our follow-up email with this webinar, we will send a link to the first one. And then moving forward, we will continue to build out our webinar resources and share that with you all to continue to reference back as well. Okay, any last questions here? Okay, great. So I know we do have some follow-up resources that Emily mentioned we'll share. We have a video that we'll share with you all that is helpful to kind of give out to clients if they have questions about using the app. We'll share these webinars, and we will get back to any of you that we mentioned with like issues to check in on as well. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.